Well, first, out in the fog, she's like, where have you been all this time? He's like, sometimes I bleed.
Do you know why I didn't think, that I wouldn't have connected it? There's never someone he's playing opposite of that's anywhere close to his height.
Yeah, that's true.
He just looks like an average sized person here. But then when they're standing across from the help, they're just like, they're so big.
Be fine.
Right, both of them.
So you look so different. Pause. Sometimes I bleed. And then Nicole Kidman says, okay, so that happened.
He gets his period now. Chains.
Welcome to Load Bearing Screams. I'm Matt Chokes.
I'm ever so frightened.
And this is my lovely wife, ever so frightened.
Lacey Goth.
Lacey Goth. Perfect.
I just came up with that.
And we are doing another spooky movie, The Others, 2001's Nicole Kidman, I'm in a haunted house and I'm a lady movie. The Others. Yeah.
Or am I a haunted lady?
Or am I a haunted lady? This house is fine. The problem is me.
She says it more than once. That the house is lovely.
Or in the end, maybe both. Who's to say?
Who's to say all the houses?
The house is a land of contrasts.
I don't agree.
No? Mm-mm. Well, let's get into it. Why is it not a land of contrasts?
No, I just don't think it's a house specific thing. I think the movie kind of is letting you know that all house, that if they're around long enough, have these things.
That's what I think every time I watch the movie. So it's like this everywhere in the world, there's just a lot of fog. There's a lot of dead people walking around. How far back do these dead people go? You know why I love that movie, A Ghost Story, is you get to see this ghost who's stuck in this spot for the rest of time. And so this house gets knocked down and he has to just like stand and walk around like this concrete slab.
That's why you want to die in a castle. That's already been standing a while. You're going to have company. You're not going to be the only guy walking around when you're dead. Uh-huh. And probably people would, if you're in a historic district, they'll fight for your right to not get your house removed.
That's an amazing point. That's be strategic where you die. We want somewhere that this place is gonna last. You don't want to be in the first little pig straw hut, babe. You don't.
Go to a New York high rise.
Yeah.
Go to the top, because even if we all predict the world will become flooded, they'll still have real estate
up there,
up at the tip of the top.
Like that book in that movie.
So like the old lady in King of the Hill, you just wait till you think you're near death, and then you go to the place and you just ask to die there.
The old lady in King of the Hill.
It's the Christmas movie.
That is an episode, yes. That's just not, you're referring to one specific episode from a later episode of King of the Hill.
Yes,
when the show was less popular.
Exactly. And she very nicely just wants to die there, and Hank could not be more annoyed.
That's a great episode, and I didn't even connect it to this movie.
Why would you?
Well, just the idea that like, you were in a house and it's like, God, people used to live here and I might have to deal with them again in the future.
You might be dealing with them and you don't even know it.
Listen, we've mentioned this before. We are blue bloods. We live in a big castle with silver spoons. We have a pool, and what happened one time is we needed a pool guy. Okay, we needed somebody to fix our pool, which was broken. Or a woman. And we found a pool man to come fix our pool pump, and he's like, "Yep, I've been dealing with this pool for decades. This is a real deal pool."
Our pool?
Yeah, and it made us feel good that he called our pool a real deal pool.
Like, yeah.
But it was also like, so if you're a pool guy, you just know the pools of town, and the owners of the house, the occupants of the house may change, but you know the pool. Like, your relationship to the pool goes back way, way longer.
That makes sense, because if I design a website and then 5 years later I'm working with an attorney that is now in charge of the website, but they need me to come make updates.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, this website.
I know
this
my
old
way.
Girl. Good bones, you kick it.
Do you kick a lot of bones?
Good bones.
You don't kick good
kick the
ones.
wall. You kick the wall. That's what they say about good, solid construction. Good bones.
You don't kick walls. Those have...
That's how you see. Any constructor will tell you. That's what you do is you kick. Give it a good kick. All right, listen, every week we make a bonus video that you can access on our Twitter account, our Instagram, or our TikTok.
Boy, wait till you see this doozy.
These are the only places you can get them. So TikTok, load.bearing.beams, Instagram, load.bearing.beams, or Twitter, load.bearing.pod. And our video this week, usually it's adjacent to the movie we're covering. And this week is no exception, but it's a bit of a stretch. So, okay, I remember I've seen the others many times. This is my movie. I picked this movie.
Giving away the milk for free. Make them go and look.
No, I want them to hear this and be like, I have to see that.
All right, okay.
So I've seen the others a bunch of times, but what I mainly remember about it is from the trailers, or the line reading from the trailer, which is in the movie, but I associate it with the trailer more than the movie. So Nicole Kidman goes into her child and she's like, "Where's my daughter?
I am your daughter.
I am your daughter."
I am
from the trailer. So we developed this game, the trailer line game. Which lines of dialogue or line readings or exchanges from trailers stick in your craw?
Yeah, that you can actually be sure it's from the trailer, not the movie. It's an interesting and difficult distinction.
Okay.
It's hard.
It's hard, yes. And then the challenge is go watch the trailer and see if you were right. Because I did two of them. One I was right. The other may not exist at all.
The first one you were so right that I guessed which line it was. That maybe that's ones with a lot of people met.
I know. I bet if you said the name of this movie to people, they might just say that line. I don't know why.
I don't know
why. But yes, go to our Twitter, our Instagram, our TikTok, and check out that video and let us know which lines from trailers you remember and maybe you're wrong about.
I'm just going to go ahead and guess. It's definitely got to be people doing funny accents that makes it stick.
Yep.
I should have. Damn it. Look at her. Bippity boppity boop.
All right, The Others. Why did we pick this movie? I love this movie. Saw it in the movie theater with some pals of mine when I was, 14 years old.
What were they, ghosts?
They might as well have been, for all the help they did me. I think this is one of those. Sorry, let me look up the release date of this movie. So August 2nd, 2001. I mean, we are weeks away from 9/11, but it is funny when I find a movie that I went to see in theaters in the like month after or 2 months after 9/11. It's just weird to like think about the time and think like we're just like living our lives. Like everything was like, yeah, go to the movies now and see The Glass House or whatever.
It is weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because this movie did not make an impact on me, and I would have definitely been seeking out scary movies to go see. At this age, it's the most fun thing to go see with a group of people, and it's like you don't get in trouble for picking a horror movie because at least it's going to be so bad it's good or actually scary, and either way you win. If you pick a comedy and it's a flop. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the fact that I didn't see this one, it totally missed my radar. Makes me think it's 9/11's fault, probably.
But you have seen it.
I've seen it because it's one of your favorites, so you had me watch it.
Yeah. Before last night. So that's your history with the movie, I'm asking. Your history with the movie is you watched it with me.
Viewers, listeners, do you feel like he asked me anything there? But anyway, yeah, my history with the movie is I did not see it when it came out. I saw it, I don't know, 6 years ago because you said it was so good. Mm-hmm. And it is. And it is. And it is good.
It is. I think that at the time, and spoilers for The Others, just because this is a twisty twist movie.
Sorry, the movie's name is The Others. It's a little bit of an awkward movie because sometimes it just sounds like we're saying a sentence and not saying the movie title. So spoilers for The Others.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you've noticed that the title in your podcast is The Others and the YouTube title's The Others. But you raise a good point, Lacey. The movie is called The Others and we're going to spoil The Others. We always spoil movies, I know, but I will now spoil the ending of The Others.
This is one of those movies where it's fun to watch it unspoiled. Matt does not care about spoilers, but he will admit that this one, it is nice to get to see it at least unspoiled one time.
I guess so.
Still good to watch a second and third time, but I think it's a fun twist.
It is a fun twist. I think that when it happened at the time, it was like, oh, so it's just The Sixth Sense again, which is unfortunate. I mean, I think it's not. Oh, they were dead the whole time. That's not The Sixth Sense.
No, because there's a live boy interacting with him. There's a whole live.
Yes, I know the specifics are different, but just 2 years earlier, an iconic all-time movie had this iconic twist of a character. Hey, I'm watching a movie. The people I'm seeing, they're alive. That's what I understand about reality of movies.
Fine.
Now, 2 years later, a movie does it again, and there is a little bit of a like, oh, that's it. Now the other, I mean. this is ultimately just Beetlejuice, but if serious, because it's about the ghosts who don't know they're ghosts. They think they're being haunted by ghosts, but they're being haunted by people who are alive. And I always found that twist very cool, but I'm mainly into the movie for the mood, the atmosphere, the conceit of not letting the light in from room to room, seeing how cool it is to just watch a movie that's only lit by candles and stuff. And
that there is electricity, but she chooses not to have it. I mean, I'm instantly like bummed out when she announces that. I'm like, so no TV at all.
Well,
it's kind of unstuck from time, because like you accept the way that the three ghosts, what do we call them? The three helpers, the
staff,
the three staff people. You accept the way they're dressed because I guess of their station in life, and you know that this is at a time in history, but electricity was an option. So then you put those two things together and you're like, maybe this is how people with British accents dress.
No, I know. It is. That's kind of what you're like. Yeah, I mean, 1945, I guess. Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, we don't even use electricity anymore. It's like, no, in 1945,
you did.
It was a big fucking deal if you didn't have electricity. You wouldn't just be like, yeah, we don't need it anymore. We forgot about it. And you probably would notice that these styles of dress are different. Maybe these characters are speaking a little different. They seem older. They seem like their dialects come from 50 years earlier than the main characters.
But that it is smart of them to have it be three service people talking like this. And then you can excuse a lot for, they're just not as refined. They come from a different time. But you don't guess like the 1800s. And you know, they have Nicole Kidman, as much as it's possible for her to dress matronly. They do have her wearing dark clothes the entire time, almost the exact same silhouette and shape and garment the entire time. So it's not weird that none of the ghosts ever change their clothes, because you're like, yeah, you're a ghost. It doesn't make sense for any of you to have different outfits. You don't ever show them sleeping. You don't ever show them eating, but you don't notice that because they're the help. They're helping you do all these things.
Or, I mean, The Sixth Sense had a big trick of Bruce Willis is dressed in the same clothes the entire movie, but you didn't notice,
because
at
he's
the end
cold.
You're like, oh, you're right.
It's a cold time of year, so when someone's coat is the same all the time, it's not weird. A lot of people only have one coat, so yeah, that's a smart trick to do. And this house seems drafty, so she's got a house coat.
What I find, I mean, the other major thing is I always found this movie scary. I thought it was just a really well done, simple ghost story, ghost haunting movie. I was a little disappointed by not finding it scary at all this time.
Did you notice there's no ghosts in it at all? There's no apparitions ever. I understand they're the ones already on the spirit world, but you also never see even the figures that the child draws, like these are the people. You don't ever see them either. Yeah. The only time you think you're seeing a ghost, it's a painting. It's a painting. And you realize the only time anyone really feels haunted, it's because of the mom. The mom is bringing this weirdness into the house.
Yeah.
Her own desires to like have reality be exactly what she wants it to be, and her resistance against her own past and what could be happening in the house are what make this movie scary. And it's the kids' anxieties around the curtains being open that make the fact that the curtains open in their room is scary at all. And I love how they make all the things that Victor is doing totally possible that the girl is doing it. You can't tell that it's another being, but it makes sense either way.
Did you find it scary?
Yeah, I find this is another beautiful expression of maternal mental illness horror. And it's funny, but because they don't have that second component, the fucking with physics, they don't have the supernatural part in it, when the entire movie's about the supernatural, but because you're on their side of things, it doesn't ever feel like you're witnessing supernatural stuff, really. Because they don't have that part, it doesn't stay with me and fuck me up. Also, the ending is kind of nice. Like, the ending feels like a release for everyone. It's a very unique, happy horror ending.
Well, that's why I think the comparisons to The Sixth Sense run deep. Not just because it ends up being a ghost, but because it ends up being, you feel the experience of a ghost and learn the lesson that the ghost had to learn. And they're kind of similar lessons. I mean, I think that one thing that this movie is ultimately about is Nicole Kidman realizing the agency she has in her own life and the things she is doing to the people she loves, the things she is causing to happen. And it's similarly with Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense. He is realizing, I took my life for granted. We all know the only thing that matters in life is the people we love and our connections to them. But it's so easy to be like just disconnected and just sort of floating above it all. We might as well be a ghost.
Well, and thinking that like you're achieving is actually for them. You're just working this hard and doing this much because you want to get to a place where you can just focus on them one day. And it's like, well, if it's in your nature to work this hard all the time at all, this is probably always what you're going to find a reason to do. Yeah, which that is Bruce Willis's thing, right? He's not giving enough time to his wife.
Right, and so the audience, it's like, well, I'm not a ghost, but I can feel like a ghost. I can feel like I'm not living my life is living me, or I feel like things just happen to me and I'm just floating through. And I feel like Nicole Kidman is kind of going through the same journey. Things are just happening to her, which to some degree they are. Her husband leaving for war, the Nazis occupying the island. But she is also choosing to do a lot of things.
She is the darkness. I read it as everything bad that is happening to Nicole Kidman or in some reason or in some way her mental illness's fault, including her family leaving her and including her husband choosing to go to the war when he didn't really have to. And I think there's tells all the way through that he also admits he did not need to go, but he did not know what to do. I think he saw her destroying their family and couldn't watch his kids go through that. And so he made up a valiant reason to leave.
Made up, or just like nobody's going to be like,
right.
Oh, you coward. Right. You went off to fight the Nazis. But it was like, we live on this island that was occupied. We were surrendered. There's nothing you could do. Your family would be better served by you staying home and helping them and protecting them from the literal Nazis who are on the island.
You know, when they introduced Nicole's character, she seems so frazzled, but also so well put together. You know, she's like confused as to why someone's knocking on her door, but then as soon as she thinks it's the help, she's just so regimented. She's not a pleasant person to be around. She's condescending. She's super strict with everyone and everything. That in the beginning, okay, so your husband's been gone for a year and a half. I'll bet that's scary. I'll bet you've been through a lot. You've literally been in an occupied place. You could have at any point been abused by your occupiers. So she's just putting on this sternness because she's had to wear this, had to take on this role. I don't know. But then as the movie goes, you're like, no, she's always been this way. She's always been hard to live with and work for. I don't remember my larger point. She's scary. She
is scary.
But
and
beautiful,
her kids are scared
right?
of her. Well, she's Nicole Kidman.
It's just tricky.
2001.
I know, but that fucking curly bob of hair, like I think it makes sense to pick someone that looks like this because you can't act the way she acts and to your children or to strangers and get away with it if you don't look like that.
And I was just reading about this movie. She's styled like there's this movie from 1961 called The Innocents that this movie takes a lot of inspiration from. And the lead in that movie is Deborah Kerr. And Nicole Kidman here is stylized to look like Deborah Kerr. So Nicole Kidman, who obviously always has this classical look to her, just looks like a movie star. I mean, her name is Grace. She could be Grace Kelly.
And there's she's talking about God all the time. She's very much follows scripture, and so that always goes as like good person, safe person, even though we should know by now in horror movies it does not mean that. But she has the head of an angel, and the rest of her is terrifying. And I mean, she's even got loafers on, like horrible house shoes. She, with any other, even with brunette hair, this is a different movie. She had the light has to go through her glowing hair like that all the time for you to like feel this like relief or like this sympathy you need for her. I think it's something about the light glowing through her hair.
Yeah, for a movie about light. history of this movie, there's not that much available about it. There's no retrospective. There are good essays on this movie, but it's not like there's an oral history or even a lot of notes about the production that I could find. So I figured first we'd revisit the old genre of gothic horror. If you listen to our episode about The Crow, I have a lengthy explanation of what gothic and goth means, and I've always been amused that it's tied to, like, in the Middle Ages,
architecture.
Yeah, so they come up with the term gothic architecture to basically mean something that isn't classically like Roman. And what's the opposite of that? Ooh, the dirty Germans, the Goths. So Gothic just means non-standard. So Gothic architecture. And I love how that evolves over the ages into meaning
nothing
like
more goth than those Germans.
Yeah. So, Gothic, I mean, the idea with the others in many ways is like, I read this in, I think the Criterion put this movie out, and they always have an essay, that other film critic writes that they include with it. And I was reading that essay, and they were talking about the director's idea here was like, you had movies like Scream that were sort of reinvigorating the genre, but they were extremely bloody. And then you had these big special effects spectacles like The Haunting and House on Haunted Hill, the really big CGI horror movies. And his idea was like, can we just do a classic gothic horror haunted house movie with zero special effects or very, 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 very few, and just use just the classic tricks of the trade.
I'm truly it's scary when it's dark. And this woman and just something about the pulling of those curtains, the heaviness of them, the dust that comes off of them is just like, she wields this control, this force. She's violent. You can just tell, and she makes others do it for her. And there's just something so like, sinister about her control of the light and those fucking keys, and how there's 50 doors but 15 keys.
That's a nightmare.
Even if your kids could get those keys, if they tried to free themselves, if they tried to get them away from you, if they ever were to need to, they are always locked in a room. And just that they would, how? That you'd have to be knocked out for so long for them to find the right key.
It's also, you start off the movie and it's like, okay, yes, they have this light sensitivity. It makes sense that she needs to lock them in the rooms. But you watch the movie and you realize the kids don't need to be locked in the rooms. They know. If there's the slightest hint of light, they're like, oh no, mommy, the light.
And they're telling her. Also, if it is that serious, and you're in a straight up castle, basically, you're telling me there's no inner room to use as their bedroom. You're going to risk having their bedroom be one with curtains, that you're not in there when they wake up, but they could accidentally wake up to the light and in their beds die. That's kind of reminding me of something, them being in their beds and dying. Just like, put a shiffer robe in front of it, but put a mirror, anything. Why are you even allowing? The idea that she needs
that when they're off, we need to pretend this is a normal house. We need to let the light in. We need to clean. I mean, she has kids who have a disability. We have a kid with a disability, and there's certain things we have to accept. Like, our house is going to be messy all the time. It's going to have mega blocks all over it, and little Hot Wheels cars, because that's what our kid likes to do. And if we clean, you know what he's going to do? Take out the Hot Wheels immediately.
Yeah.
So we just sort of have to accept it. That maybe she should just accept, I'll keep the curtains permanently closed.
Well, but she's also right. Maybe we should board up the house, you know? But it's also, I understand this distance you start to feel, and like your family leaving you, your family going beyond, and, you know, everything's leaving you and you feel trapped in this house. It's very alienating when your kid can't go do other activities that other kids have no problem doing. We can't go anywhere on a moment's notice. We need some time to plan. We can't go anywhere as a family, so someone always has to really stay behind. It is isolating. I do get that. But like, we never stop finding joy in our kid and enjoying our house. And what I think is so interesting about this dynamic with the children and the mom is that mom is the only one who finds these kids to be fragile or a bummer. The mom is constantly bringing down the mood, making them work, making them do lines, talking about religion, talking about heavy things, thinking about sad stuff. She never plays any games, never comes in and like enjoys their joy. The daughter laughs at something that makes that's funny in a freaking scripture lesson, and the mom immediately reminds her of how she's going to go to hell if she acts like the people that she found funny in that scripture. And then these three helpers come, the help come, and what do you see? Every scene with Bertha has a huge smile. The kids are smiling. She's getting joy from these kids. She finds them funny. There is life in every room that the mom is not in. Mm-hmm. That mom sweeps through a beautiful parlor, and it's like darkness just follows her. She is the fucking bummer.
Which is why, I mean, your read of the movie is being about a mom with a mental illness, whether it be bipolar or something else, of just this all-encompassing darkness that takes over everybody, not just the person who has the illness. It takes over the family and the dread that they all have to live with of this could rear its ugly head at any moment.
And what kind of day is it going to be? Is mom going to wake up screaming bloody murder in her bed and think that, we'll all be safer if we're dead, or we'd all be safer if we were locked in a room for 8 hours, or whatever it is she's going to want to do, we will have to do it. You can't have another idea outside of mom's idea. The daughter suffers over and over again because she sees reality and the mom does not want her to.
So Gothic horror
it's fun. It's chill.
Gothic horror often dealt with themes of death, fear, madness, decay, isolation, hauntings, both literal and emotional, and often from a female perspective. Often female heroine, maybe not being believed but of the haunt, the ghost that they're afraid of, or whatever other fear it is. Alejandro Amenábar. I meant to look up how to pronounce his name.
I like the way you did it.
He is a Spanish director, born in Chile, but grew up in Spain, left Chile shortly before the 1973 coup by Pinochet. And I think it's interesting, reading some quotes from him. Seems like that really defined him and his family. And it's interesting that he set this movie, the others, at the specific moment in time where on the British island of Jersey, which is close to France, the Nazis occupied it. So it's, a piece of British territory that the Nazis occupied. And I think that it's just interesting that he said it at that specific time. Like he can very much relate to that.
And in this uncertainty, right? The war feels over, but your life isn't necessarily back. You don't know if people are coming back. Mm-hmm. You're still in this limbo period.
Yeah, the leaving days before a coup or days before, something's on the horizon. It's going to transform everything. I don't know what's on the other end of it, but we need to get out.
What a huge responsibility, though, to be the lady of a manor and know that you do have to stay with your house. The house could just be also a parallel to the children, especially when your husband's gone off to war and he's probably dead. But if he's not, how will he find you if you don't just stay with the house?
Yeah.
Well, everyone else is leaving. I'd feel stuck too.
Plus, you leave this small island of Jersey. Where do you go? Where does he know where to go to look for you? Do you go to London? Do you go to America? Where do you go?
Cell phones, people.
So they should have bought a cell phone play.
A mobile.
So Alejandro, first movie was called Thesis. His second movie was called Abre los Ojos, or Open Your Eyes. Open Your Eyes is the first line of Cameron Crowe's Vanilla Sky. And that's because Open Your Eyes, Alejandro's film, is Vanilla Sky was a remake of this movie.
Oh.
Tom Cruise saw this movie, was a big fan of it, struck up a relationship with this filmmaker, bought the rights to remake it. And then because they had this relationship, he produced the others. You see it is a Cruise Wagner production. And that's why he pushed for his wife, Nicole Kidman, to play the lead. And yeah, I mean, they were 2 years removed from Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know how close together this was to the production of that, but it was like just another time where they filmed this in Spain, so it's like just go off to this other remote location. I mean, I know London where they filmed Eyes Wide Shut, it's not remote, but it's always just pack up and go to a new spot and spend 6 months to make a movie there. A weird way to live.
And at only 5'1",
sorry, Nicole Kidman is 5'11". That's a typo.
That doesn't make sense to my brain. She's taller than all the help.
Yes. Nicole Kidman, who was 32 years old at the time, 5'11". What do we think of Nicole Kidman in general? What do you think?
I think that there's always she always feels like her, but it's good. I think she's great. Maybe she's often put in the same scenarios a lot in movies, but just kind of breathless, kind of needing saving, kind of scared. I mean, I'm thinking of Far and Away. I think that's the movie. And Moulin Rouge. This one. There's just a lot of movies where she like needs help.
The Hours, where she won her Oscar for playing Virginia Woolf. Yeah, but I think of her I usually think of her as playing a strong lady.
I mean, I think of that from like Batman, and then maybe Batman, right? She's in Batman.
Batman Forever.
Yeah. And then of course she's her most in control, I mean, or at least of the roles I can think of in Eyes Wide Shut. She's got a great monologue in that one where she's total sex kitten and power of shit. She always just kind of seems in peril but powerful, like can take care of herself. I think she's a good actress, but she definitely has a sound, a tone. I don't think I wouldn't say there's not range there, because she does a lot with it, whatever it is.
No,
that
I'd say
thing
she
is.
has a ton of range.
Okay, but maybe she's not given a lot of different things to play.
No, I think that she gives a lot of. You think of her as a movie star, but she works with a lot of serious filmmakers, like Lars von Trier, like Jonathan Glazer, and gives a lot of serious performances. I think she's one of my favorite actors, and she's the kind of actor where if she's in a movie, I'm like, okay, that's worth seeing if she's a lead, because she does take a lot of roles, like she'll plays Aquaman's mom or whatever. But yeah, I think she's great. This might be my favorite performance of hers. This or Birth from 2004.
I didn't see that.
That's a movie where an 11-year-old boy is like, hey, I'm your dead husband, and she's like, maybe you are.
That's enough.
She's like, want to get in the bathtub with
enough.
me? Okay. Yeah, Nicole Kidman is this movie is kind of her. It rests on her shoulder. She's in every scene. She and the director rewrote the character to make it specific to Nicole Kidman and what she can do. And I think it's great. And this movie was kind of her first this movie was a pretty big hit, a surprise hit. And it might've been like her first actual star vehicle to be a big hit. Her previous big hits were always, she was a co-star.
Right.
And I think
she had a love interest.
She'd been positioned as the next big movie star, but it didn't really take off until right around here. And then she wins the Oscar the year after, and then things actually take off. Like, she was always maybe more of a tabloid star than an actual movie star, even as she's making great movies and giving great performances. All right, that's the history of the others. And now we will move on to our other segment, the movie discussion. To those who are watching us on YouTube, you can see, of course, that we've turned all the lights off. We are recording this without electricity. We are lit entirely by candles. We're using an analog camera.
My theory. Don't you find it interesting that they chose to regular caps the and all caps others? What do you need but an M?
The mothers.
Okay, remove the S. But remove the S. But don't you think? Like, it's a weird choice. Do you know of a lot of all caps mixtured?
The whole credits are stylized like this, but yeah, it could be because, I mean, yes, mother, other, yeah.
The other mother.
But I think that what this movie is saying.
The other mother. Because there's two different kinds of her. Maybe this movie, things start to, what changes in this movie? The kid, specifically Anne, she gets an ally in Mrs. Mills. Now she has two mothers. Weirdly named Bertha. Did she give birth to the new Anne? Maybe.
Damn. So this movie opens. Lacey and I were both trying to do, obviously we're in our dark room lit by candlelight. Right. What we were trying before we hit record to nail down what the impression of Nicole Kidman is here.
We did not get it.
Yeah, I was like,
it's breathy.
My name is Nicole Kidman. I'm reading a storybook.
Maybe your worst impression, but it's dead on balls for what you think all women sound like.
They all sound like that to me.
Well, moms. No, women.
Come on.
Okay, you liked mom better.
I have two different impressions for women. My name is Nicole Kidman, and I'm reading a story to my two fucked up little kids.
Okay, so we're either stupid or stupid. Those are our two options.
Yeah, but my impressions of men are also stupid. That's
not to but.
But
Shaka bra.
My name's Nicole Kidman. I'm Grace, Ninja Turtle. Our dog just barked.
It's because of the others.
What this movie needed was a dog.
Nope.
No? Mm-mm. All right, moving on then.
Can't have ghost dogs. That opens a whole fucking can of worms.
Dogs can sense ghosts. That's usually a thing of theirs.
If the dog is a ghost, right, then we're then
true.
forming an opinion of, do we think dogs go to the afterlife?
She killed both kids and the dog.
Right. Or she just hears the barking, but she can't find the dog. That's because the dog did not pass over. That's why she can hear the kid crying, but not the she
My
can't see
eyes
the
just
kid.
got really big.
They were so...
It gave me the chills.
Woo. Got him the willies.
I can hear the dog, but I don't know where. All right, well, this movie opens with Nicole Kidman reading the creation story, I guess, to her kids with these cool credits in these illustrations. I mean, this movie's like a storybook in a way, you know, and she's telling them
stories we tell ourselves, Matt.
Exactly.
Nicole Kidman definitely is guilty of telling herself a story.
To make sense of the world on the macro, in terms of like God and shit, and the micro in terms of me and my migraines.
My spells. I don't want to trigger one, so I don't have electricity. I've decided we don't have ruckus. We don't have loud noises.
We prize silence in this house very dearly.
Jesus Christ! I don't want to live here. I do not.
Oh, we're so glad we came.
Oh, you're lucky it's the Depression, lady. It's not, though.
No.
It's not. They just live on an island and they don't have a boat.
Yeah, they live what they were looking for. Do you have a boat?
There is depression. Just not. Right. It's not the Depression.
So, Amenábar himself does the music to this movie. I think the music is great, and I will go ahead and end our scary music now.
Oh, were they hearing it? I thought that we had passed on.
And
the mothers,
the others. So,
what a way to wake up.
Nicole Kidman as Grace just screams.
Okay, because my theory here is that they're showing you the two sides of this mother, this angelic, godly woman, and then the Lord he took a rest because he was tired of making the deer and the fauna and the flora, or whatever the fuck she said. Why am I country? Damn it! And then immediately, the most blood-curdling scream, pop off. Scream queen, because you are screaming very well. That's a good. I curdled.
Very good scream.
So like you're seeing the angelic put on in control version of her, and then just as soon you don't even know it's coming, and then she's gone mad. And that's the
nothing
juxtaposition.
Triggered it. There's nothing that triggers this. This is like in the movie Signs, which I love so much. I love our introduction to Mel Gibson's character is he just darts awake in the middle of the night.
My read
nothing has disturbed him at all. It's just
my read is that this is the first morning she wakes up, or that she wakes up every morning like this. I guess I assumed she had just killed her children, and she wakes up thinking she had. But that can't be right, because she gets up and she's like, oh, well, go on with the day.
I don't know if you can actually track this on a timeline, because you get the sense that later she says that the servants they disappeared a week ago. So it's like, did she kill the kids a week ago and then kill herself? But then does time work the same for these people? What is the deal with time anyway?
But obviously the servants didn't disappear.
Yeah, no, she killed
died.
herself and then woke up and then... Or she killed herself and she's like, oh, the gun malfunctioned. Jennifer.
The servants,
Jennifer.
The servants took the seagulls and they left the fog.
This is Jersey in the Channel Islands in 1945. Now I have to issue a correction. Jersey, while I said it's a British island, it is a British Crown dependency, but is officially not part of the United Kingdom. It is a self-governing island that depends on Britain for its foreign policy and national defense, but it makes its own laws. Nevertheless, English is the language. It has its own culture, most of it influenced by
Everybody's
Britishness.
tan. Everybody has a snooky.
That's right. That's what they...
I needed to just go ahead and get that joke out.
So she's screaming, and then we meet the three helpers. Just gets right into it. The three helpers walking up to the front door. We have Bertha Mills, played by Fionnuala Flanagan.
Who's fucking amazing.
Great performance. Mr. Edmund Tuttle. What a name, Mr. Tuttle. And Lydia. And Grace, Nicole Kidman, opens the front door and she's like, what do you... Oh, yes, of course. Come in now. Come in. And they're like, okay. Because she assumes that they are responding to her advertisement.
Yes, that she had put in the mailbox 5 days henceforth.
Yeah, because she needs new help. Because the old help, they rudely disappeared without leaving,
Didn't even want their pay. Odd.
And so she's explaining to these new people. She's like, yeah, they didn't even collect their wages. And Mrs. Mills says, oh, what a strange thing to do. And she,
how many times has Mrs. Mills had to do this shit?
She's doing it all throughout the movie.
Okay. No. I mean, with new ghosts. It's like, okay, we got to leave the house and then pretend to come back. We've already been here, but we just got to pretend to come back and be like, oh, you want us to come in? We're all going to be living here together anyway. How do you want to work this?
When do we release when do we uncover the gravestones? When do we say, hey, no, I believe in ghosts too? No, when do we give her the pills? All that stuff.
And I don't think the pills do anything. She never takes them anyway. And we'll discuss. I guess you have thoughts, but
so many.
But I guess I take it that. Sorry, what is the girl's name? Lydia. Beetlejuice. I guess I figured that Tuttle, Mills, and Lydia all were certainly servants, and they did die in that house, and so they're connected to the house. But so does that mean? It's just interesting that no one else from their like time in the house also stayed, or I mean, the owners. There's no owners, because I'm saying you can have the help who also exist, and then there's owners and the owners' children. That jives, but. What happens if two owners die in the house? Like, I own this house. I'm
glad that the movie doesn't answer questions like that.
Yeah,
it's not like Beetlejuice where it gives you a rule book. I mean, not that Beetlejuice does that, but this is a movie where you can't, like, what is the nature of their relationship to physical reality? They can manipulate objects. Do the real people see them or not? Yeah, I don't want any of those questions answered, but I do get the sense that, like, Mrs. Mills says, like, she's always felt like it's her own home. So it's like people who feel a deep connection to the home, and the idea that homes are things that are going to live past you. They live longer than you.
Or maybe even that, and then maybe people who don't have a close connection to any place, like they don't have another place to go. I like that she does not waste time getting to the point of like, this house is miserable. You'll find that it's not nice to live here. It's unpleasant. She specifically says that it's a beautiful house, but it's not like you remember. You'd be surprised what the darkness does. Referring to herself. So it's like she admits all along. She's like, no, we fucking ruined this place. Like, this is gonna suck. I suck.
You remember this as a happy time, but wait till you see what I've done with the place. I've put it like the house we live in now versus the one we saw when we bought it.
And even worse, because our kid is on the spectrum, we made him a video of us like walking through the house on the inspection day when we were first buying it. And the house is fucking staged and pristine. And you know that this isn't the way that the other lady had the house, but it is the way we bought it. And luckily our kid has stopped watching it over and over again. But god damn, does it hurt when he plays that video and it's like, stop putting this video on.
I know. We moved in and basically drove the U-Haul into the living room and then left it there for a year and a half.
I parked my car in the garage when the door wasn't open, and that was an accident.
Which I did to the other house that we got.
Yes, it's a tradition.
Grace says to the servants, she's like, we're looking for, I need somebody who's honest and hardworking. And Mrs. Mills is like, well, that sounds like us, doesn't it, Mr. Tuttle? And he's like, oh, yes, we're very honest and very hardworking.
I'll work on this pile of leaves till the cows come home. You got to assume there's no growth. So as soon as he's like, the fucking garden.
Yeah,
I got to just work with this one pile of leaves.
Growing. The thing about the afterlife, if you're, if ghosts are here in the material world, aren't we going to run out of space? And aren't we going to be meeting some really, really old ghosts? Are we going to be running into like Emperor Constantine? Suleiman the Magnificent is hanging around,
That's hard. Yeah.
And think of the attitudes that they have.
Just piss poor. But you would think they'd evolve eventually, right? Just being around personalities that don't buy into. What are we doing? What are we doing, Matt? We could talk about this forever. but even I don't think that their personalities can't change, right? Because we watch the mom and the children grow just in their understanding of the first couple of weeks of being dead. So I guess I would think that anyone that died in very, very old times just by default is going to modernize because they're around modern ghosts.
Constantine, who famously adopted Christianity over the course of his life, over the next 2,000 years, finds all kinds of new things to believe. And eventually he's like, we need to diversify the boardrooms. We need more female representation in the executive and the C-suite, So yeah.
C stands for cunt.
It can all change.
Did you notice, and did you get this feeling as well, that the hint is that they hint that the afterlife is kind of godless and like and arbitrary and not like they have no sense of like they're being punished for having died in a house of tuberculosis, and neither are these children or mom for having mental illness or being murdered by your parents, right? Like this is not a purgatory. This is not anything. This just the afterlife is weird. And it's not what you expected.
Because in the middle of the movie, Mrs. Mills and Nicole Kidman have their conversation, and Mrs. Mills is like, there's not always an answer for everything. And in the end of the movie, Nicole finally tells her kids, I don't know. I don't know if there is a limbo. I don't know what this is.
Right.
And that is the ultimate point of the movie in the end is you don't know.
Well, and it is expressed to us in a certain way that it is the most religiously inflexible people that have such a struggle with what the actual reality of the afterlife is. This is why Lydia never spoke again. She was the most like the mother in that she staunchly believed in what the afterlife would have based on the Bible. And Nicole Kidman immediately feels a connection, just knows that whatever she's feeling is related to whatever happened to Lydia. Like she just needs to know, tell me what happened to the mute. And it's like, it's the inflexibility. It's why the daughter adjusts so quickly. She sees Victor first. She's always been questioning. The Bible stories don't really make sense to her. She refuses to believe that her mom did not go mad. And it's that flexibility that made her so adaptable so fast. We're on the first scene of the fucking movie. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a lot to this movie. Grace is touring through the house. She's like, here's a piano. Don't fucking play it. It sets off my migraines.
Surprise possession. It's the migraines. I was thinking like she just loves that piano.
But this is a monument to my neuroses. I'm a rich lady and I'm going to build an empire dedicated to indulging my neuroses. So silence is something we value in this house. Don't talk loud. We're only ever going to be whispering. We're going to have the curtains closed at all times. We're going to lock the doors to trap the light.
What an easy thing to police. What a brilliant way of policing emotions as well. Like, oh, you're upset? Don't be so loud. Oh, you're happy and laughing at a joke I don't understand? Don't be so loud. Just this claim of like my migraines. I mean, just you can be a tyrant and use that as your excuse for everything.
No, you think you won the election? Let's just let him believe he won the election. It's fine. What's the worst that could happen? We'll just indulge him. He'll stop being president in a few months and that'll be fine. She thinks she needs to lock the doors. What's the harm in locking the doors? Oh, now the kids can't get out. Oh, now she's put a pillow over their head. Whoops-a-daisy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. These little indulgences lead to big tragedies. I got you.
We meet
but
the
it's
kids.
Nicole Kidman. She's a gorgeous thing. So hard to be mad at her. Look at her. Look at her.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I want her to be happy at me.
I want her to be happy at me too. So the kids, she goes and you haven't met my kids, and I think the movie's trying to tease for like a minute that these are going to be some horrible freaks.
Ghouls.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that is exactly how she sets it up, and it's the tell that I put in my notes that Grace thinks the children are the problem. Grace sets it up that way. Like, oh, it will be dark. You could run into a sideboard or a table or one of my two children playing hide and go seek. And for some reason that prompts the Mrs. Mills to go, what do you mean? Like, you know what the fuck hide and go seek is? Or what are you asking? Children play games? And then that's when she was like, I think it's time you met my children. Like, you're going to get it. As soon as you fucking meet these assholes, you're going to want to grab a pillow, put it on their faces, pounce around. Like, she hates her children, or at least can only trace her misery back as far as they are, completely leaving out the fact that just a couple years before her children were born, her family was leaving her. Things are not going well for you, Grace, because you're kind of a bitch.
Well, and society's not oriented in a way to give her any help and give her any autonomy or freedom.
It's the opposite of the airplane rule. Like if you have mental illness and you're a mother, no, you do not get to put your fucking face mask on before helping the ones around you. You get to pretend that you're fine, and you need to take care of the children. Mm-hmm. Where a father with mental illness or an alcoholic, he can be in the field. He can fuck off to war. He can go to work. He can be distant. He can be grumpy. He can nap all day. He can do all those things because that's just Paw. But you can't have other things going on with you and be the mom.
I love that for like 20 to 30 years, basically our parents were raised by men who like went off to war and saw horrible shit and came home like Christopher Eccleston in this movie, just in bed, and they're like, what's wrong with daddy? And like, he's just not well. And then daddy would be reading you a bedtime story, be like, fiddle-dee-dee, the cow in the moon, and Johnny, no leg anymore.
Johnny.
Who's Johnny? Yeah. No. Then they all just go silent. Yeah, your dad was just suffering horribly from PTSD, drinking himself to sleep every night. If you asked him how he's doing, he's like, I'm fine, just fine. Right. Isn't it funny
it is funny.
Our parents were raised by...
That's hilarious.
that like in World War II, half of the men...
did not come home. The other half came back wrong. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, just the idea that half of the men, I don't remember the exact number, or maybe it was like 2/3 of men between a certain age just left.
Right.
If they just left, if I just left, I wouldn't leave. But if, everyone, all the men just leave, that's weird on its face. They're gone for 4 years. They come back, they're fucked up.
They're fucked up, and women no longer know their proper role. They've been forced to do, or asked to step up and do the man stuff and do both roles. And then the most fucked up version of their husband comes home, grumpy as all shit, and he wants you to stop using that wrench. That's his wrench. Mad. Anyway, what a time. No wonder they think the rest of us are like so indulged and, oh, how nice. We get to think about our mental illness in this generation. Oh, that's cute.
Well, because we are. And
yeah.
That's okay. In fact, it's good.
And the lack of needing to physically send people to war for this country anyway, it stayed okay. It stayed good pretty much. So now we have another generation right now who's really into wellness, just self-care and mental health.
We send people to war, but they're not people They're people.
I guess the last giant big chunk was the one you just spoke of. Well, Vietnam. They're not people
We have other countries fight our wars for us.
That's
now.
what I mean. We're getting...
Yeah, we can just pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Go look at the front page of the New York Times today. There's a hurricane that's about to kill Florida. We have a rapidly escalating war in the Middle East, and the top headline on NYT.com is Harris up 2 points over Trump.
HFK, FFK.
HFK
RFK.
Up to stay.
No, is it RFK?
RFK.
Fuck the reporter. Journalist.
Thank you.
Wait
till you meet my little ghoul children. Then these two totally. Well, first we just hear them, and she's like, "Wake up!" Who knows what time of day it is? 10:30 in the morning. Right. She wakes them up, and then they're both like, "We wish to the God that we'd have the creepiest little prayer that they recite together."
Never heard of morning prayers. When she's like, "Okay, chests up, hands together," and what do we say? Like, Jesus Christ, you are fun, lady. Can we just get up? Mm-hmm. We didn't even brush our teeth yet.
They come out and they're just perfectly normal looking kids. And Mrs. Mills is like, what sweet little angels. And this is Alekina Mann as Anne and James Bentley as Nicholas. And these two performances are excellent.
They're very good.
These two actors did not continue professional acting. She explains their photosensitive condition. They'll develop hives and allergic reactions, and eventually it would be fatal if they are exposed to the light. Yes, and then we see the kids eating breakfast that Mrs. Mills made, and Anne says, "The toast tastes funny. I liked it better before." Before. Exactly. We take it to mean when we had the old servants, but before.
I don't take it to mean that. I take it to mean that, because I've seen the movie before.
That's why you take it that way.
And I would venture to guess that you don't even require eating once you realize you're dead. Like,
yeah, you're just doing it.
You're just doing it, right? Because you never see any three of the ghosts that are used to being ghosts ever eat, sleep, shit. You see Nicole Kidman. You see Nicole Kidman shit constantly.
It is weird how much, you just see her and you hear it and you're like, this is a weird movie. This is otherwise such a Tony and refined and kind of, Grace is like talking. She's like, she has to brief Mrs. Mills first. And she's like, listen, I don't like any funny ideas.
Right.
Actually, first, she like Mrs. Mills, come talk to me. She's like, hey, by the way, the advertisement never went out to the newspaper.
She was pissed. She wasn't chill about it. She's like, what are you doing in my home? And that's when Mrs. Mills clears it up. We were actually about to tell you right before you told us to shut the fuck up that we did not see an advertisement. We just know a house this size usually could use some help. And we've worked at this house before. Our house. Yeah. But wait, Keely, importantly, Grace decides that she needs to stop what Bertha and the children are talking about and have this little talk on the side because they were trying to express how their mom had gone mad recently. The boy denying it and the daughter adamantly saying it happened. And Bertha leaning in to be like, go on.
What?
Dish. and then that's when the mom stops them, brings Bertha outside, and she's like, don't listen to their crazy stories. Like, oh, wow.
They have a lot of funny ideas. I don't like fancy ideas.
Yeah.
What is she? I wrote it down.
Fanciful.
The only thing that moves here is the light, but it changes everything. It's rather difficult to say the least. One might almost say unbearable. The only way of enduring is by keeping a cool head. I don't like fantasies. Strange ideas. You know what I mean? My children sometimes have strange ideas, but you mustn't pay any attention to them.
And you can clearly see that is all her talking about her mental illness. So it's
and whatever clear. They say I didn't. I definitively did not do. So don't even worry about it.
And like, I've decided that these very strict rules that I've made up and these illnesses that I swear are real of my children, that this is the only way I can tolerate being a mom right now. Okay. So as soon as they get ideas like, I don't burn when the sun touches me, or I don't breathe when the pillow's on my face. As soon as they start thinking those things, that's when I say foolishness and we go back to the Bible, I truly think this whole movie is just about, she found a way to like somehow stifle enough her anxieties about being a mom. And it's this: you're sick, I have the keys, you like locked rooms, you don't need light, you guys can't play very loud because I'll get a migraine, you guys can't do kid things because that's dangerous, so I'll just say that playing is dangerous for you guys, or it's dangerous for my migraine. It's just like, I can take the most well-mannered, quiet, contained kids and still look like a really good mom because I'm helping them with their sickness.
I was going to ask you if you think that they never actually had this sickness.
Yeah, I don't think that they did.
And then, with the religiosity, which she's super Catholic, and Amenábar said that he chose Jersey as the location. He originally wrote this in Spain, but decided he wanted to make the movie in English. And found out that Jersey is an island with, as a British people on it, who are predominantly Catholic, which is unusual because most British people are not. And he wanted this to be Catholic, where you have very like sort of the strict doctrine, the top-down doctrine applying to all sorts of things with spelled out rules about limbo and stuff like that.
Yeah. The rosary, the blessings of a priest.
So you meet her at first and you're like, yeah, this is how it was back then. Everyone's just always talking about God and stuff. And it only takes a few minutes before you're like, this seems a little extra.
It also doesn't sound like any Bible. I mean, I spent a fair amount of time in Sunday school, and those names, Proster, and the story that with the beheading or whatever that she's telling her homeschooled children. It's only the 1940s. It's not that removed from the Sunday school typical lessons you'd hear. The ones that tell the most easy morals. That's the ones that you give to children. And she's reading one and I'm like, it's by design. I've never heard of this. I don't know of these stages of limbo.
That's a Catholic thing. And I think that it doesn't even come from the Bible. I think
Dante's Peak or whatever the fuck.
Yes, Inferno. Dante's Peak. Put the town on alert, a volcano.
Exactly. But it does, I think we're supposed to feel like she's kind of She's made her own little brand here. This feels very specific and not, yeah.
If you, my child, died, where would you go? And they're like, we'd go to children's limbo. And they're like, what is children's limbo? Tell me all about it. It's like, well,
it's in the center of the earth and it's very hot. How hot is it? Hot.
Tell me in centigrade. But like, it's very quickly after this that Anne like pushes back. She's like, I read the fucking Bible or whatever. It says the only people who go to children's limbo is unbaptized babies. And her mom just like doesn't know what to say to that. It's just flabbergasted. Like, ball.
It's like one of the only times the children laugh, if not the only time. And she cuts that shit in the bud, nips it. So you think it's funny, do you? That you would deny Christ for this little comedy bit you're doing. Eyes twitching.
Grace hears, she separates the kids because they laughed that one time. She's like, oh, put it into that, put you in your own rooms, lock you in your own rooms.
It's so cruel. It is a huge house. They both are already scared. The kind of scared you are when you have an abusive parent. You know, you start to think things are haunted, things are moving. You start to feel like there's some other kind of otherworldly thing happening to you. It's easier than saying that your parent is abusive. And just because they were having some fun in this dreary fucking house, she puts them alone. And her son, who's very scary, is
prone to being scared.
Yeah.
And before the mom leaves, she's like, Mommy, give me a kiss.
Oh, son, you know I can't be with you all the time. We're two of the three people you know. You are one of the other people. Who are you going to go be with? You're frolicking in the sun?
She separates them, and then she goes off into a third room, and she hears hears a kid screaming. She thinks it's Nicholas. What's wrong? No, Nicholas, you're okay. Oh, it must be Anne. No, Anne's okay. And then she's like, who the fuck was screaming? And then Anne's like, it was Victor. It's Victor. Victor, he moved into this house. His father's a pianist. His father's with the others in the hall. Victor's the one crying.
Anne delivering this information.
Yes. How could Victor get out of this room if the doors are locked? And then pan over and the door is wide open. What the fuck?
This open.
So she yells at the help. She's like, you did this, you pieces of shit. This house is like a ship. The water must be contained. And they're all like, but ma'am, Mr. Tuttle was in the garden and Mrs. Lydia was in the blah, blah, blah.
Right. They had a good excuse. Are you saying I did this? Like, no one's saying shit. God.
No, I wasn't. Shut up. Anne and Nicholas.
It's our first day. What the fuck is this?
Anne and Nicholas are alone. Anne says she's seen ghosts. They come out at night. And I was wondering, is the idea that she used to make up stories about ghosts, that this is like part of, she's always been kind of doing, I see ghosts at night, but now they're real?
Well, couldn't it be that her being so flexible and connected to the regular plane of existence after she's passed on, maybe she also had it the other way. You know, maybe she did exist in this house.
She did see ghosts.
Right. And it didn't freak her out.
Yeah.
It just is.
I think that's plausible.
I do too.
Then later they're asleep in the same bed and Anne wakes Nicholas up. Nicholas, the curtains. Victor's been opening the curtains. Tell him to stop opening the curtains.
You're a cowardly custard.
And he's like, oh, I'm frightened of Victor. And she's like, you're cowardly custard, cowardly custard, cowardly custard.
I'd be scared too. And I know she comes off as like a mean sister, but she's yelling at something much bigger than this. Like, you're my only partner in this and you are denying what really happened to us. You fucking coward.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so she's all over. It's a very effective scene. Like I said earlier, you can't tell. I'm convinced it could be a ghost, but they make it just obscure enough that it could also have just been Anne doing the curtains and
the other voice.
Tapping. Yeah, because the voice never overlaps her own, and it's not so different from hers that it could be, but they very intentionally, because up until this point, they don't show you a ghost. A ghost has not happened, and we still think they're being haunted. So yeah, I think they don't give you definitive ghost stuff here, and they never will. The movie doesn't even attempt to trick you into thinking you see a ghost beyond that painting, and it's just a painting.
But we do hear Victor talking, and he's like, hey, you two, get off of my bed. And they're like, this is our bed. And the kid, Nicholas, screams, and his mummy runs in. And the next day, Grace punishes Anne because she says, "You're telling lies about ghosts." And Anne's like, "I'm not telling a fucking lie." But she makes her read a bunch of Catholic stuff and then makes her ask the Virgin for forgiveness. But she refuses because she didn't do anything wrong.
3 days. It's not one day. She's doing it for days.
Mm-hmm. There's this moment where Grace is talking to Mrs. Mills, says I'm beginning to feel totally cut off from the world. The fog's never lasted this long. Even the seagulls have gone quiet. They're waiting for a visit from the priest, but the priest hasn't come by like he said he would. And then Grace is really mad she's sitting there embroidering in the embroidery room and hears a lot of ruckus above her. And she tells Mrs. Mills, "Go tell Lydia just to keep it down up there." And then she hears a lot more noise, and the camera just really slowly pans over to Nicole Kidman embroidering. It lasts a long time. She hears more noise, and then she stands up, and she's like going to go give Lydia a piece of her mind, but then says, "Lydia is outside. Who is making the noise?"
With Mrs. Mills. They're both up there. And we know the gardener doesn't come inside because that's not where the garden is.
Right. So she runs and yells at her daughter. It's like, is someone in the house? Tell me right now. And I love that the daughter's reaction is like, "I can't tell you because you told me you'd punish me if I told you the truth."
Right.
So it's like, this is like the contradictions of religion. They redound down. They're like, no, you need to follow every literal word I'm saying, even when they contradict each other, and I'll punish you. You were born a dirty sinner. And I'm going to punish you for it. But also your actions, your choices, they're everything.
I mean, too, and that is what she was doing the night that she got punished. Telling her mom what happened. Mm-hmm. And now her mom, because she all of a sudden hears stuff too, "No, now tell me." And it is, super fucking confusing.
Nicole Kidman goes into this junk room because Anne points at the junk room.
It's called a junk room. It's fucking antique roadshow from like heaven. It's beautiful in there.
It's in the poop room.
It's in the disgusting refuse room.
But in the rubbish room, it's all just stuff covered in white sheets like ghosts. Yeah. But you can hear.
Oh, we should say it is a running theme. It is said more several times that there's no such thing as ghosts, and even if there were, that's not what ghosts look like. Ghosts wear white sheets and have chains, and this movie gives you multiple opportunities to see a white like a typical Halloween ghost, and often gives a sound effect of chains that aren't chains. It's a person clinking for some reason, and often the big ring of keys is clinking, or the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love the sound in the scene where she's in the junk room, pulling sheets over stuff, and you can hear like breathing and stuff, and then you can hear the whispering, and you can hear she's a woman.
And way to go for making a very effective, scary scene in broad daylight. They don't hide from the daylight.
I wrote that.
Yes, I mean, and that goes to my point of like she's the scary parts. They happen because of her. Mm-hmm. And she brings it to she goes out into the light all the time and fucks it up.
But now she's like willing to listen to her daughter. Like, okay, so there's ghosts or whatever's going on. And Anne has drawn a picture of the family with Victor and the crazy old woman. And she has a number next to each picture saying how many times she's seen it. And she's seen the old woman the most times, 14. Because later we'll find out the old woman is the medium. She's the one who's actually interfacing with them. But yeah, Grace is like, well, it's not ghosts. What's happened is some people literally came into our house, and maybe it's a sort of parasite situation. Maybe somebody's living in our basement, or
this is the problem with big houses. You can't be in all the rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Grace, she's like, 5 fucking years the Nazis were here. They never once came into this house. And now I got some jamoke who's sneaking around upstairs.
That explains all the whispering I can hear in this room alone.
Yes. She, Anne is talking more, explaining more about the people she's drawn, and the old lady who she calls a witch. She asks me things. Victor told me she's a witch. Her breath smells. And her mom asks, what does she ask? And she like pauses and she's like, thanks. It's obviously asking, hey, your mom killed you. What's the deal with that? And explains to Mrs. Mills that her mom told her not to believe everything she reads in books because I guess she read some books about ghosts and that's why she's become obsessed with books. She's like, well, you can't believe everything you read in books, but she tells us to read the Bible and believe everything we see in that.
That's right. And in this movie does a very good job of showing you how powerful denial is and how resistant someone can be when something is showing you that your beliefs are wrong. And this slow acceptance the mom has of like, it's not that there's ghosts here, because I refuse to believe in that. It is that there are people I can't see. And that's different. How? But all right.
But that's what I would think too. I mean, neither of us believes in ghosts. You would eliminate all the actual possibilities beforehand, and the most likely is there's a literal person in our house. But yeah, she goes into one of the old rooms and finds all this old shit, all these photographs, and she's trying to find like an old photograph of previous occupants of the house and see, do any of them match the drawing that my daughter has made?
See, so she is open to the idea of ghosts.
And but she finds a photo album of people from the 1890s who are all sleeping. But then Mrs. Mills comes in and says, "No, ma'am, 'tis a book of the dead." Because back then they would take pictures of you when you were dead. I couldn't find out if this was true or not, but Grace says, "How could these people be so superstitious? Unlike me, I'm great."
But religious people do think superstition is silly. They think any like a black there's not a Christian that also like thinks a black cat is scary or wouldn't walk under a ladder or open an umbrella in the house. Like those are the devil. Believing in superstitious things, it never once occurs to them that what they believe are superstitions.
Sorry, you're saying that they would never be afraid of a black cat? They'd say, if you're afraid of a black cat, you worship the devil?
Yep. That's how I was taught.
Yet I know plenty of Christians who like also talk about karma. Like, I'm going to get karma for this.
I think it's probably...
You're also a Hindu?
Right. They don't feel like they're really using that word in good faith.
Grace and Mrs. Millsley have their one moment of like quasi bonding. And, she kind of gives it like her family history. Everybody left this damn island. My family left in 1940 before the invasion. That was the last she ever heard of them. And then she goes and her daughter is asleep and she hugs her daughter, her sleeping daughter, and says, "Can you ever forgive me?" Talking to her about, I'm sorry I'm so hard on you. Can you ever forgive me? But
very notably, I wish you had a screenshot of this. The daughter is a slight purple color and she is and the movie takes care to not show her take one breath in. She is dead. That's how she looks and has no response to the mom. And then she doesn't stir, like wake up or whatever. The only thing she does is her mom gets up and then she just opens her eyes. Like it's very haunting the way that they...
Yeah.
There's something warm about
her hugging her sleeping daughter looks like, and saying, "Can you ever forgive me?" is like her hugging her daughter's corpse.
Exactly.
"Sorry I killed you."
Yep.
Say it's okay.
And now she's fed up and she feels like, okay, if there are ghosts, this is demonic, and the priest said he'd come by and bless the house or do whatever the fuck the priest must in the past come and visit every now and then because she can't leave to go to church. That must be like a prearranged thing that they do, but he hasn't been by in the week. So he's due to come, but like she's sick of it. This clearly his absence has brought these ghosts maybe. So she's going to go get them herself. And that's when we find out she can't really escape the house, the fog.
She goes out in the fog. It's a very cool scene. The fog is just it's like Snow White. It's like a fairy tale. She's out into the haunted forest, can't see anything. And then we linger on the servants and suddenly we see their motives are a little questionable. Something else is going on with them. They're covering up some gravestones. They're like, when are we going to reveal to them, whatever it is, our secret? All in good time, Mr. Tuttle. But Grace out in the fog is lost and then sees a figure and hears clanking chains. It's so fucking creepy. And it turns out it's Christopher Eccleston, my husband, Charles. The great Christopher Eccleston. He plays him as so just sort of dislodged. And just floating, just like barely able to make sense of anything, but can like pull it together to like string a sentence together and then just get lost again.
Well, and to be like happy enough to like to see familiarity. I mean, he kind of seems like he's just been wandering around. He's been looking for his family for a year and a half, in the afterlife. Did he die on the battlefield and he's been lost there? Is the fog all connected? It never seems like he was ever supposed to go to the house. That she just kind of made that happen.
Yeah, it feels like a mistake.
Yeah, he instantly, and the Tuttles, the Mrs. Mills, they're like, this
deep.
This doesn't. This is not what this is for. And so it's very effective to just blame it on he's shell shocked and not adjusting well. But he doesn't eat, doesn't sleep.
Well, first, out in the fog, she's like, "Where have you been all this time?" He's like, "Out there." I'm going to do his voice from The Leftovers, his super American accent. "Out there looking for my home." Okay. She's like, "You look so different." And he says, "Sometimes I bleed."
Oh, that's him. From The Leftovers. Okay.
Yeah, from a million things, but
I know. Well,
our
also
favorite show,
from,
The Leftovers.
From True Detective.
Yeah. You look so different. Sometimes I bleed.
Do you know why I didn't think, I mean, that I wouldn't have connected it? There's never someone he's playing opposite of that's anywhere close to his height.
Yeah, that's true. Because
he just looks like an average sized person here. But then when they're standing across from the help, they're just like, oh, they're so big.
Very fine.
Right, both of them.
So you look so different. And he's pause. Sometimes I bleed. And then Nicole Kidman says, okay, so that happened.
He gets his period now.
But she's like, all right, well, everything's going to be fine, just fine now. Walk, Mrs. Tuttle, Mrs. Mills, this is my beloved husband, it is. And, but all he does is just stay in bed, just traumatized, just like hugging the sheets and stuff. And then she comes in and like hugs him and sings to him. He's like, all right, well, tell me when you're ready to get up, champ. But yeah, he has no language to describe what he's going through, what he has been through. I mean, if you take it on the surface that he's suffered trauma from the war, from seeing Johnny get his leg blown off, and from killing all those Germans, that he's shell shocked. There's no language. There's no way in which you can actually process this at the time. Same with her. There's no language to describe what she goes through, other than to say like, it gets loud and I have migraines, or just say like, not well. He's not well.
I don't know what's going on with me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because she starts to feel like, okay, I can actually move on. They'd been preparing for the catechism of the children. And so she's like, okay, well, life can continue now. Now that the husband's here, we will do not catechism, for the first communion, which you take catechism classes to prepare for first communion. And so she's letting her daughter, try on the dress that she's probably been working on for a long time. And like, let's make final alterations because now that dad's back, we're going to actually move on with our lives. We've been in a completely suspended animation this entire time. And that's when we see the very strange I guess the daughter becomes the medium for a while. That's the old lady. That's the only explanation, right? They just kind of transpose while she's doing a seance.
But wait, before that, I like this. The daughter,
sorry.
The daughter says like, brings up the intruders again, but now her mom's like, no, there's no intruders.
Right, exactly. No. Your dad's back. So like,
so everything, cut that shit out.
Right. I was on your side. Now you're kind of fucking up my flow. We're going to go back to how things are great because we don't want to stress out your dad or me. Remember me? We don't want to stress out
This is where
me.
the daughter starts hyperventilating. She's like, stop breathing like that. Get out of here.
But both children are told stop breathing at some point in the movie. Once the mom tells the daughter, don't breathe like that. Don't breathe. Stop breathing. And then when the two kids are in the chifforobe and Nicholas, stop.
Don't make it sound like you're struggling for breath or that breath is late. You're laboring. You're struggling to breathe. Don't remind me of that sound.
Yeah, but specifically stop breathing.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
But then she gets up and she runs away crying, and Mrs. Mills is like, no,
she chokes her
dear.
out, and she wait.
No. Which doesn't, not yet. No,
I see what you're saying. Okay, sorry.
She thought she was getting somewhere with her
Right.
mom. My mom believes me, and now she's pushed back. No. You're full of shit. There's no ghost. Then she gets up and runs away crying. And Mrs. Mills are like, no, such a pretty face when it's crying. Don't do that.
Look how bad you look when you're crying. Look how stupid you look.
Look how ugly you are when you're crying. She's like, I don't care. But things are going to be changing around here real soon. But yeah, jump ahead to the fucking, like you said, the first communion dress that makes her look like a bride. This is probably the most famous moment from the movie trailer. Grace comes back into the room, but sees that's not my daughter. It's a fucking old lady. Where's my daughter? I am your daughter.
I'm your daughter. And what you would do to any old lady in this circumstance is jump on top of the frail woman and choke her the fuck out and slap her around a little. This woman is homicidal. And then she, gets slapped back into reality, and it's actually her child she's been beating up, and she runs off and finds Mrs. Tuttle, and then Mrs. Tuttle allows the daughter to go in Dad's room, and Grace doesn't fight it. She's like, yeah, I probably should be told on. And so then we get a scene of her having to try to explain or kind of like take her comeuppance from her husband over what she's done, but we still don't know how she went mad, or even if she did, we just know that they could plausibly just be talking about what she just done to Anne, until she starts saying like, that day, and then so clearly there are two instances where mom has gone mad, and she's just apologizing. And this is the tell of the whole movie for me, that this entire movie is about a family torn apart, not by war, not by an illness from the children, but by the mental illness of the mother. The dad has the most emotion, even more so than like seeing his own children. He's, shaking, crying when Grace figures it all out and says, you didn't leave because of the war. You left because you couldn't be around me. And he loves her. He still loves her. So he still wanted to say goodbye with the fucking. We know this man fucks. There's not a movie or show this man's in where he doesn't.
Right.
Moan.
He even fucks his comatose vegetable wife in The Leftovers.
Indeed he does.
But it's when she temporarily comes out of being in a coma. But then she goes back into a coma. Nobody knows that she came out of the coma.
He fucks ghosts. He fucks cops. He fucks this lady.
Watch The Leftovers. But Nicole Kidman, this is the one scene where she takes all, like she takes off her super conservative dressing and is now in a nightie or whatever and looks like a goddamn smoke show. And he's like about to leave, but then he turns around and sees her and he's like, wait a minute. Say.
All right, Matt.
What? He says that. So they have sex, and then she wakes up the next morning naked, assumes everything's fine, but he isn't there. So she walks around, looks for her husband, but realizes things are not good. And she doesn't know it, but the kids wake up and there's sun coming into their room. The curtains aren't closed. In fact, the curtains aren't even there. It's really cool. Just the absence of curtains is really scary. And the filmmaking is so great because one, the score is pounding. Nicole Kidman, throws like a blanket over her kids and she's just, running around the house with them. And the camera will just like look at an exposed window with no curtain. And it's like really scary.
Sinister, right?
Yeah.
A way to turn it on its head. The movie turns all of it, several things, the idea of the ghost haunting, the ghost being haunted by the non-ghosts, right, and the light being, they're in the upside down world. Right.
Usually the darkness is what's scary. Here it's the light. The light is terrifying. And this is the stretch of the movie where we see the house lit like it's a normal movie. She yells at the servants, you must have wanted to do this. And they're like, why would we want to do this? Well, no, first, get the fuck in here. Why did you do it? Do what? The curtains are missing. The curtains are missing.
How? Oh, no, just that they are. I mean, they are being a little sus during this time.
Oh, sure, yes. Yeah. Why do you think someone would want to do that? But then Mrs. Mills is like, why do you think daylight would kill your children? And Nicole Kidman's like, what the?
Are you mad? Right.
The light will kill them. No. That was before. How do you know they haven't been cured if you've never exposed them? She goes look all over the house for the curtains, but she can't find them. And then that night, the kids, I guess as the mom is still looking, the kids decide, or Anne decides, I'm sneaking out of our room. I'm going down onto the grounds. I'm going to look for my dad. And her brother follows him. Before that, they're drawing. The boy's like, what happened to Mummy? And I like Anne, the actress's line reading. She's like, she went mad. I already told you. The kids are on the ground. And they find the gravestones of the servants, and then the servants emerge, and it's scary. You're cutting from this to Nicole Kidman in the house. She goes into the servants' quarters, now vacated because she kicked them out of the house, and sees the photograph of them all dead. So you see these things simultaneously, basically.
They're dead. And just for a moment, I think they're going to do like some kind of CGI bullshit or they're going to finally do some sort of like thing a ghost can only do, but it's such a weird trick of the camera. They get so close to the door and then they start to blend with the panes, the wood in the door. And you're like, are they coming through the door? Are they coming through it?
Yes.
They never do. They're just at the door.
I know. And I remember it as them going through the door.
I know.
They don't.
I'm waiting on it. No, it's brilliant because they can still just talk to her right there. Like, what are you doing?
Talking to her through the door. She's inside. She's like, you're ghosts. And she's like, yeah, we admit it. We're ghosts. But it's not us you have to worry about. It's the others. There's nothing better in fiction than when you find out that there's others.
Right. There's yet more to this. Right.
Oh, no. We're not the ones you gotta be worried about. I mean, that's what's so great about, the end of the first episode of Lost, and basically every episode of Lost ends in that way. Like, you think this is bad.
Do you think that the reason why Mrs. Mills is kind of ticked that they let it get to the level of having a medium, or maybe just having the family firm proof that this house is haunted. Like, she's aggravated because it's like, it's just easier to let a new family move in. You get used to them, and then you just carry on with your day, and we all find some kind of normal. But no, now you've gone and got a medium involved, and now they know, and now they're leaving the house, and now it's going to be vacant for a while. Now I have to wait to see what the next group are like. Like, why is Mrs. Mills annoyed with this? Or like, well, it's too late. Too late for what? I mean, you're still tied to the house. You guys are still going to be ghosts together.
Never got the sense she's annoyed.
Well, then why is it too late? What could be too late about it? What does it matter?
What's too late is now the medium has directly made contact with your kids. So you're going to have to go up there and talk to them yourself. That's literally what she's talking about. I mean, so...
Also, why does that matter?
No, I don't. She's trying to give her a little push. You're going to have to, the only way out for you, Nicole Kidman, is through. You have to deal with this. It's your first time. We wish you were being a little more cool about this, but you're going to have to just go deal with it. So Nicole Kidman goes up into the kids' rooms, and the kids are talking. Now this is the first time we see other people, the others, and it's just some people sitting around a table with an old lady medium talking to the kids. And she's like, the old lady says to Anne, "What did your mother do to you?" And Anne whispers in her ear, and she's like, "Something about a pillow? Is that how she killed you? With a pillow? She didn't kill us." And then the kids start shouting, "We're not dead. We're not dead." The score's going nuts. Nicole Kidman comes in. She's like, "We're not dead." She shakes the table, rips up pieces of paper, and then we cut. And now we're seeing it from the living people's point of view. And finally we see
your traditional scary movie seance moment of shake, 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 shake. And
it is a great cut. It is a totally flip your entire understanding of the world you're looking at. Although I've got to tell you, when I saw this movie at age 13, I didn't understand what was happening.
Oh.
I think when the movie ended, I still didn't know that they were dead.
That crazy old lady killed them.
Yeah. And then I shot myself. What do you think she meant by that? So yes, these people, they made contact. The medium, her eyes go all weird. She's scribbling on a piece of paper.
I think her eyes are always like that.
No, when you see her when she's not,
I don't remember,
connected, they look normal.
Oh, okay.
And the husband, I guess her partner can read her scribble scratch, and that's how this works. It's kind of a cool setup for a seance or whatever this is. Michelle Fairley plays the mom here. Michelle Fairley from Game of Thrones. And her husband is played by the father of the actor who played Theon Greyjoy. How about that?
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah.
And it's just like, that is that. They're like, hey, that mom killed the daughter, so I think we're going to move out of here? Yeah, we're going to move out. That's that.
I mean, if they weren't talking to Victor, it'd be fine. But they've been talking to Victor. He ain't right. So we gotta go.
If this wasn't a fucked up ghost, if this was a normal ghost...
Right. Does a tragic end of a shortening of a life mean that they stay with the house? You know, tuberculosis takes you. Well, but like, you're old. Two of you are old. What are the rules to this? Why do they stay with the house? Anyway, this house is ours. So I guess Grace has accepted that she's a ghost, and
she starts talking. She lets the light into her own soul of understanding that I killed my kids. I smothered them with a pillow. What was the final straw for her? I don't know. They were laughing. They laughed like twice. And she smothered them with a pillow and then immediately regretted it and then went to shoot herself with the gun. But the gun didn't go off. And then she suddenly heard her kids laughing in the other room. And it was a miracle. God had given her another chance. I love that framing of whenever, afterlife is depicted of missing the moment when you died.
Right.
The gun misfiring or whatever, and you not understanding. No, you did die right there. But
and we don't know that this isn't Nicole's afterlife only, because if there is any fairness to it at all, you should think the children would have a completely separate experience of being dead. Why should they be tied to their murderer their entire afterlife? This
afterlife doesn't seem like it has any agency to it. It's just this is just what happens. I don't know.
That you know of.
And the mom, the kids ask are we in limbo? And she's like, I don't even know if there is a limbo. Dad died in the war, didn't he? Yes, he did. And then Mrs. Mills comes in and she's like, That'll be that, ma'am. How about we have a nice cup of tea? It sounds so nice.
Dead people tea.
The intruders are leaving.
Uncertainty.
The intruders will be leaving, but there will be more. Sometimes we'll sense them. Sometimes we won't. Nicole Kidman and her kids keep going, this house is ours. This house is ours. This house is ours. But the light comes on. I mean, the sun turns on. Mm-hmm. Now the kids can be in the light. And now all is well. And they'll be kids for the rest of eternity.
Fun. In their nightgowns.
Yes, in their nighties.
They can't get away from the house though. Fog. They finally get to enjoy the sun and it's foggy all the time. It's really bullshit.
Can we go to France now?
Right.
Do we have any final thoughts on The Others, 2001 film starring Nicole Kidman about ghosts? What you got, Lacey?
It's just great. It was a good movie. It's a great movie.
You were just scribbling. Lacey's just been scribbling the whole time and her eyes fell back into her head. Let's see. I see she's written down Letterboxd 5 stars.
Need to pee.
5 stars you gave this?
What you reading?
I read your scribble scratch.
Oh.
By which I mean your Letterboxd.
I think I did.
That knocked my socks off when I saw that.
I gave it a 5. We're on a little streak.
Wow.
I said, so unique, so smart, such a great twist, amazing acting, the best kind of maternal horror, the best portrayal of mental illness and the darkness it can cast over the entire family. It's the best. I was a little drunk when I wrote that, but still great. I am a fucking genius with the pen. Mm-hmm. Pen did the pad. What do you want?
At the end of the episodes, I ask for final thoughts. That's what I want.
Those are them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give it 4.
I give it a 10.
A 10? Mm-hmm. I'm going to give it 4.5. Oh. My only critique, I think it's a great movie. I think Nicole Kidman, it's one of her best. And I think that this is so splendidly directed, looks amazing. The cinematography is great. The production design is great. All the supporting performances are great. Music's great. Sounds great. Cinematography with, candlelight and shit. Actually, I don't know if they actually lit the movie with candles or if they had actual, camera lighting.
I think so. Everything seems a little bit more.
Yeah, it seems a little bit bright. But Stanley Kubrick, when he made Barry Lyndon, lit it all with candles. That's a fun challenge you can present for yourself.
Oh, it does sound fun.
Kind of like what we're doing right now. And I don't think we'll do this again. This was a little difficult recording with analog equipment and lighting the room with
you and your
candles.
Fucking bits.
My only critique is I wish it was a little scarier. That's all. I've always remembered it as being scarier than it is. So I don't know how. It's not the filmmaker's fault that I remember it being scarier than it is, but the experience of watching it is I'm always waiting for it to get scarier, and it never really does. But very good. I echo everything Lacey said. Good movie. Right. Next week on the show, episode 133, Halloween Spooktacular Load-Bearing Screams moves on with an episode on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Why is Lacey shaking her head?
Am I going to like this?
I don't know. You like the first one.
Yeah, but that was because he was a sweetie. Why do I feel like he's not going to be a sweetie this time?
He's still kind of a sweetie. His family's still kind of pieces of shit.
Oh.
But Leatherface, I mean, you get more Leatherface in this movie.
Okay.
It is like Texas Chainsaw comes out in 74. This comes out in 86. By now, Tobe Hooper's become like a real Hollywood director. And he's like, the only way I'll go back and make a sequel is if I get to make it however I want. And the way he made it however he wants is like do something totally, totally different. So
okay.
It's something.
It's so okay. Well, then I look forward to not understanding what it is from the beginning. But I like to be surprised.
But why are we doing this movie?
Oh, it's because JT the Talking Head, our good friend and fellow mummy from Film Talk, he's our guest, and this is the movie he chose.
He's a mummy.
He's a mummy.
A mummy.
A Masters of Matinee member and or enthusiast.
Give me a kiss, mummy.
A mummy.
So we'll talk to JT about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 next week. In the meantime, tell a friend about our show, please. We're growing. We want to grow more and faster. That's the thing. Our numbers go up and I'm like, oh, they're just going to keep going up. Go up faster, please. I know that's the best way to win sympathy.
We want more.
Review us, like us, subscribe to us, follow us on Letterboxd, Matt Stokes 9, Lacey's Load Bearing Lacey on Letterboxd. My band Roll Rat 9 does the music on the show, including the song you're hearing right now. the opening theme song, the interstitial music. The Joy of Averages is our album. You can find it on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube or in the links in this episode's description. I'm Matt Stokes coming to you live from Load Bearing Beam saying goodbye.
And I'm Lacey Gothin. Okay, I love you. Goodbye.
Three, four. Everybody, love bearing beams, love bearing